Hey everybody, it's Mike from Fish in the Mid-South, and this will be the short version of comparing the two reels and telling you which one's the better value in my opinion. So one of the things that I noticed after my last video was they both have 6+1 ball bearings, which we already knew. But it's where the ball bearings are. And I took the handles apart. This is from the Chaos Pro. Plastic bushing, plastic bushing. This is from the XS50. Stainless steel ball bearing, stainless steel ball bearing. Wait, so that makes the Chaos XS50 the better reel, correct? Hang on just a second. They both have 6+1 ball bearings. This is 2 of them in the Chaos XS50. It's 0 of them in the Chaos Pro. So let's move these out of the way real quick and we'll talk about the ball bearings. So in the Chaos XS50, count our ball bearings. So we have 1, 2 right there in the handle. That's on the spool shaft. That's on the spool shaft. There's 3 and 4. Number 5 is on the main shaft. We have number 6 right here, which is under the cap for the spool retention. So you've got 3 bearings on the shaft of the spool that supports the spool anyway. So you've got this one, and this one. And this is your anti-reverse, so that's your 7, or your clutch bearing, whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called. It's called something. Hey, let me go look at it. 115. It's the roller clutch. There we go. So there you go. So there are your 7 bearings. So 3 on the spool shaft, supporting the spool shaft anyway, and 1 on the main drive plus the roller bearing. So 3, 4, 5, and then 2 in the handle. Now let's whip over here to the XS Pro. So we have, take me a minute to find them all. There's 1 ball bearing on the shaft, 2 ball bearings on the shaft, 3 ball bearings on the shaft. So this is all on the spool shaft, right? 3 ball bearings there. Okay. Then we have a 4th one that is on the main gear shaft. You have the clutch bearing, roller clutch. So that's number 5. Number 6 over here goes on the spool shaft as well, or the main shaft of the for the bearings, or not the bearings, the gears. So let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 if we hadn't already counted that one, and then number 7 here under the spool cap. So we actually have 3 plus the one under the spool cap, or the spool tension knob. So that's actually a 4th bearing that supports the spool on the Pro versus 3 that support the spool on the XS50. And then, so 4 versus 3 there. You have the extra bearing here on the main drive shaft. And so there's your difference. So you've got an extra bearing here and an extra bearing on the spool shaft. Whereas on the XS50, they move those into the handle. Now, does the handle rotate smoothly? Yes, rotates smoothly on both of them. Will the bushing eventually wear out? Probably. Maybe, probably. I mean, other than the bushing versus the bearings, everything looks identical to me from my little naked eyes. Now, on the parts list, this whole handle, let's see, where is the piece here so I can show it to you? So the whole handle is one part number, whereas on the XS50, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9 parts that are counted. So there's a big difference. That's in just bearings, okay? So we'll get that out of the way. Get all this nonsense out of the way. Nobody cares about any of this stuff. And so the other differences that we want to talk about. So you can see there's a definite difference here. Go ahead and pull that off. In both the curvature and the thickness of the handle. So the Chaos Pro, let me make sure I'm still in frame really well. Getting there. Chaos Pro has a thicker frame, a thicker handle, and it's got a ergonomic bend, if you want to call it that. The Star Drag, they function the same. The internals really look pretty identical on this side of things. Of course, we've got a centrifugal brake here versus a magnetic brake here. We'll talk about that in a minute. The drag knob is a little different. Probably a little easier to manipulate or less difficult. I don't know. The bottom, we have 4 pins versus 2 pins that connect the reel foot to the frame of the reel. Connects differently. It's a completely different frame. The Pro is a little wider than the XS50. The spool is a little wider, or actually, I can't tell if the spool's different or not. The spool looks pretty similar between the two, actually. They have the same line capacity. The worm gear, you have 2 pins that this rides on for the level wind versus 1 pin, plus, of course, the worm gear housing itself. I'm not sure how you replace the worm gear on this one versus this is pretty easy to replace the worm gear. Or, I'm sorry, the pawl. Although I don't know how big of an issue that really is. The frames. So the frame on the XS50 ends here, right? This is all the cap on both sides. So the frame is from here to here. Whereas on the Pro, the frame ends here and ends here. So your end caps, while, you know, neither one is as thick as on the XS50. Everything feels more substantial. This feels like just stamped metal, stamped pot metal maybe, I don't know. This feels more substantial, although it is supposed to be 0.1 ounce lighter. The mechanism in here is pretty much identical as far as I can tell. Same number of drag washers, all that kind of stuff. This is rated for 20 pounds of drag. This is rated for 25 with the Pro. The thumb bar is different. You get, that curve here, so it's really meant, in my opinion, to be used with the left hand. And a lot of people do actually cast right-handed with these. So I don't know. This seems quite more ambidextrous. It feels, I don't know, it just feels like it would hold your finger better or hold your thumb better. You have a thumb rest on the XS50, so you can, really like so. You don't have that on the Pro. And I keep talking about making it sound, so there's a difference. The XS50 sounds like it has a little louder clicker, and it's also a different tone. It's a more of a deep sound versus not quite as deep. Both do have synchronized level wind, which just means that when you pull a line out, the level wind moves back and forth, so there's not a difference there. Let's see. Touched on the thumb bar. We touched on the magnetic brake versus centrifugal brake. So this has a 6-pin centrifugal brake that you have to take the side plate off to actually manipulate, whereas you've got the magnetic brake here, which has 10 different, 20 different points of adjustment, 0 to 10 or 19, I don't know, and then halves in between. Whether you like a magnetic brake or a Centrifugal brake is up to you. I think the magnetic brake is going to appeal to more people because you can adjust it from the outside and have more adjustment available. The handle, like I said, everything just feels a little more substantial on the Pro. Now the Pro is currently on sale for $89.99 versus the Chaos XS50, which is $59.99. Both of those you can save 15% by putting in the code PIS15. So there's roughly a $30 difference in theory between the two reels. So which one is the better value is going to be up to you. I do believe that there are more than just cosmetic differences between the two. You've got more bearings in the right places with the XS Pro. Or the Chaos Pro, excuse me. The handle, there really was nothing wrong with this handle. I do like that you have 4 pins holding the reel feet or the reel foot on. The frame just feels so much more substantial because in the XS, these metal dowels or rods or whatever, that is, you get two. You get the one for the screw here that that is your frame, and then you get one more under here if I didn't already show you that one. So that's your frame. Whereas here, your frame is actual. You do have the liner here for the. I'm sorry, I'm lying. That does not go all the way through. But you do have the metal pin here, metal pin here. The screw does tie into those, I should say. But I just feel like I like the XS Pro better. I have used the XS. I'm sorry, the Chaos Pro, not the XS Pro. Chaos Pro better than the XS50. Just in sitting on the bench, I have used the XS50 fairly extensively, and you can see it's got some marks on it from being used extensively. I've not had any problems with it. I've never been a fan of how the clicker engages on the XS50 because depending on where the spool is, sometimes it's a little difficult to, like here you get it kind of catches in certain spots. And at least it's better than the ones that are right here because I tend to, I think it's some of the Avus I have them here, and I tend to hit it with my thumb. Whereas here, it's down here on the bottom. It's not going to be easily hit, I don't think, through normal use. So you're not going to turn it on and off accidentally. I like that. And of course, with both of them, you can just flick the button back up as opposed to having to turn the reel. Although the reel does engage the spool on both of them. There you have it. $30 price difference. Whether that's a value to you, that is your decision to make. Personally, I think that the Pro appears at first glance to be a really good improvement over what has been a very solid reel in the XS series. I think that they've made some very nice improvements, and I don't see it being a knockoff of another reel. At first, when I looked at it, it reminded me of, I don't know if it was an old Bass Pro Shops reel or an old Daiwa Millionaire or something. I don't remember what it was, but this look kind of, the holes here I think is what got me. But I've gone and looked, and I can't find anything right off the top that just, screams this is a carbon copy of that. And there are a lot of reels that look very similar to the XS series. Doesn't mean one thing or another, just, I don't know, but like I said, everything under the side plate pretty much looks identical. There's a couple of different parts, made of plastic versus made of a different plastic, or metal versus plastic or something, but the gears and everything, the drag, it all pretty much looks the same to me. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. If you've made it this far, please do like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. If you have any questions, let me know. And we will see you fine folks on the next video.